Hi, I'm Regular Zach, and this is my limited set review for the Magic the Gathering crossover set with Avatar: The Last Airbender, and today we are talking all about the red cards from the set. So this is a limited set review, so I'm talking about these cards in the context of draft and sealed. No talk about constructed or standard or commander, anything like that. We're really focused on draft and sealed. So I'm going to be putting all these red cards on a scale from A to F. So A's are bombs. They're the best cards in your deck. They're awesome. They win you a lot of games, and you get to show those off to your friends because you're really excited to pick them. B's are cards that actively pull you into red. So this is if you see this like pick 5 in your draft, and you're like, oh, that's a really nice uncommon. I guess I'm going into red. C's are the majority of your deck. It's kind of like the bread and butter. A lot of your cards are going to be this. And then D's are cards that you really don't hope you ever have to play. They're like pretty bad, but they are playable still. But if you have a bunch of D's in your deck, you're hoping to get any win that you could possibly get. And then F's are just horrible. Like they are absolutely useless in draft. You will wheel them forever. Like rares that are non-functioning, cards that only work in constructed formats, things like that. Starting off with Fire Nation Cadets. It's a single red for a 1/2 creature human soldier. It says this creature has Firebending 2 as long as there's a lesson card in your graveyard. And Firebending is when you attack, the creature gets a red mana equal to its Firebending number. And then you only have that mana during combat. So you can use it on instants, combat tricks, activated abilities, waterbending perhaps. And this creature also has an activated ability. You can pay 2 and it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So this is, a fine 1-drop that obviously does get better when you have one lesson in your graveyard. I love the threshold of like just a single lesson makes this card way better. But is it really worth playing all that much? The fire breathing effect is okay. It really just attacks as like a 2/2. I love that it has 2 toughness. That's really nice. It does block all the ally tokens, so that's fine. But overall, I'm pretty unimpressed with this card. And the lesson deck in general, it feels like they want to have like a large number of lessons. Not saying that you can't play this in like your Rakdos or your Boros deck where you want to be aggressive, but it's just not that exciting to me. It like doesn't gain evasion or something. It just turns into a 2/2 for 1 mana. So I'm just going to give this card like a C-. It's 1-drops do tend to be a little bit more important than you often think, but this one's just not really impressive when you read it. Maybe it'll prove me wrong, but C- for Fire Nation Cadets. Next up, we have Firebending Lesson, which is a single red for an instant lesson. It has kicker 4, so you could pay 4 additional mana if you would like. Firebending Lesson deals 2 damage to target creature. If this spell was kicked, it deals 5 damage to that creature instead. I think this is probably going to be the best common in red. It's a great removal spell. It either gets rid of little things early or big things late. So every deck kind of wants that. The spells deck wants it because it's really cheap and you can kill like early threats, so you can build up your graveyard and be able to attack with your big stuff. But also Boros wants it because it can deal 5 damage or 2 damage depending on what you want. A lot of times aggressive decks want to have spells that kill bigger creatures because like a 4/5 is really hard for a bunch of 2/2s to get through. But this one either kills the early thing if you're on the draw, or the big thing. So Rakdos and Boros are going to love this, as well as Izzet. And of course, Gruul's going to like this as well. So I think this card's awesome. And the huge thing, I'm going to point this out right now, is that it's an instant speed. I think instant speed cards, specifically on red cards, really important because you have so much firebending. This will help you attack and then also kill one of their blockers while you're attacking. Like, instead of spending the full 5 mana to deal 5 damage, you could attack with like a Firebending 2 and a Firebending 1, and then you only have to spend 2 mana to be able to deal 5 damage because you're just using the rest of the mana from Firebending. So this card, I think I'm picking this as like the best red common. I think it's going to be awesome. And I think people are going to be fighting over this card a lot. So that makes it like a B to B-. I will probably just give it a B because I'm so excited for it. And the lesson part also, bumps it up a little bit. So this is like a B-level card. I think this is going to be really important. The flexibility of this is awesome. Great card. Next up, we have Deserter's Disciple, which is 1 and a red for a 2/2 creature human rebel ally. And it has an activated ability. You can tap it. Another target creature you control with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. We have seen this card before. It comes up every once in a while. It tends to be pretty bad. It's like a 2/2 that sometimes gets something else in. Oftentimes you want a creature that can pump its power afterwards, so it like you give it unblockable and then you attack and then you pump it up. And yes, in this set we do have a lot of firebenders that have like low power, so like maybe you can attack with impunity and then get some mana and do some stuff with it. But overall, I think this card's still pretty bad. I'm going to give it a D+, with the upside of like maybe it finds its way into something. It is still just a 2-drop, but I'm not going to pick this card early, and I hope I don't have to play that many, so I'm just going to give it a D+. Next up, we have Yuyan Archers, which is 1 and a red for a 3/1 creature human archer. It has reach. It says when this creature enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Okay. I do like 2-mana 3/1s. That's pretty nice. In the aggressive decks, we're really happy with it. It trades with a lot of flyers. There's several 2/3 flyers. So having the 3 power is really important if you're going to have reach. And the added bonus of like rummaging when you get to like play it is great. It can try to find your land drops early or loot away lands late. I think we like this card. I think this is probably like a C. It's probably just like a level C. Yeah, I was going to say C+, but I think ultimately like this isn't something we're going to actively be looking towards. Maybe some of the aggressive decks like maybe Rakdos or Boros would be really interested. But besides that, I don't think it's a C+. Sorry. This is me deciding that in the moment. It's just a C. This is a C level card. I do like it though. I like it a lot. I'm going to play a lot of these. Next up, we have Lightning Strike. Yeah. It's 1 and a red for an instant. Lightning Strike deals 3 damage to any target. So obviously this also goes to their face as well as killing other things. This is like a classic, easy, take Lightning Strike. It's going to be the best red common. But the fact that it can't kill bigger things, it does go face, which is really nice. It's a really strong card. It's still like a B-. I just think that the Firebending lesson is going to be better than this one in this set. Come at me or whatever. But Lightning Strike's great. B-, you will want to take these. But I think if you have this and Firebending Lesson in the same pack, I would probably take Firebending Lesson. Next up, we have Cunning Maneuver, which is 1 and a red for an instant. Target creature gets +3/+1 until end of turn. Create a clue token. All right. So this is pretty interesting because most of the time when we have these types of effects, if it doesn't give any sort of keyword, primarily first strike in red, we're not really interested in it. Like if we're just reading like 3 mana, target creature gets +3/+1, we're like, okay, that's a D. I don't want to really play that. But you do get a clue token, so it buys you back some of the like card that you use to go into this. So this kind of reads like 4 mana, +3/+1, draw a card. You also have a clue token, so then it doubles up in your Is It Spells decks where you need to like draw 2 cards in the turn for some of your blue strategies. So that's pretty interesting. Also, of course, it's instant speed. There's a lot of firebending too, so spending the mana on this almost feels free. And then maybe on a later turn, cracking the clue also feels free because of your firebending. So normally I would think this is like a D, but because of the clue and the firebending and everything that's going on in the set, I'm going to give this like a C. I think that we will want to play this card, and your aggressive decks will be really happy to... another way to get rid of big blockers, right? If you attack with a 2/2, you can trade with a 5 toughness creature. Plus you get a card back, which is really nice. And hopefully the mana was free. So yeah, lots to like about this card that is usually not very exciting. Next up, we have Treetop Freedom Fighters, which is 2 and a red for a 2/1 creature human rebel ally with haste. It says when this creature enters, create a win-1 white ally creature token. This is also one of those contenders for like best red common. Like the 3 mana creature that then makes a 1/1, pretty strong. Attacking with haste with a 2/1 is pretty nice. I still think the removal spell is going to be better, but don't sleep on this card. This is a C+. This is one of the cards that you hope to get a few of. for your deck, and especially in Boros. Boros has a lot of cards that care about going really wide, and this will be amazing in that deck. Obviously good in Rakdos as well, but I think Boros specifically will want this card. So C+ for the Treetop Freedom Fighters. Man, getting pieces of cardboard, no matter how you get it, if it's 1/1s or if it's clue tokens or if it's cards, you're happy with all the cardboard you can get. Next up is Boarcupine, which is 2 and a red for a 2/2 creature boar porcupine. It says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on this. So, yeah, this goes in the Is It Spells deck. It's really obviously focused in that. I think the rest of your decks don't care that much. The 3-mana 2/2 that has to like build its way up is hard, but the thing is, if there are some other cards that I have rated kind of badly that are sitting at the spot. It's like a 3-mana 2/2 that when you sacrifice something, it gets a counter or whatever. The non-creature spells part is important because, number one, most decks don't want this. Boros is not interested in this card. Gruul really wants to play creatures. Rakdos, maybe if you're really heavy removal, but Izzet wants this card. So this card will be easy to pick up. I don't think you have to like rate it. I don't think you have to pick it very highly, but when you start wheeling, you'll be getting them for free. And then once you get, a couple on the battlefield and you start playing cunning maneuvers or whatever cantrips, they start to grow. And that deck really needs big creatures on the ground to block all the crap that's going on. So I do think this card will be playable. And I do think that the Izzet deck has pieces that will make it stronger. This is kind of like a backup version of some other stuff. So I'm going to give this like a C because we don't have to pick it very highly when you're in that deck. So I think it's definitely worth playing. I wish it had trample or something, but it will be really important for that spells deck, and having a bunch of these, plus there's like an uncommon and some other stuff that have similar texts or do similar types of things, will be really great in Izzet. So C for the Boarcupine. Next up, we have How to Start a Riot. It's 2 and a red for an instant lesson. It says target creature gains menace until end of turn, and creatures target player controls gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So this is basically like Trumpet Blast, except for it does work on defense if you'd like. And the target creature gains menace is like nice. Nice little bonus. I think we really want to play this in Boros and Rakdos. It doesn't go in the other decks very much. And I don't think we have to prioritize this much at all. So it's probably like a C to maybe a C-. The first one's great, but if we get too many How to Start a Riots, we need to make sure we have creatures. So the first one seems like a C, and then they might drop off after that. It being a lesson is kind of nice, but I think the decks that want to play this don't care that it's a lesson, so whatever. So yeah. It's also weird, like there's a timing thing where you need to attack with your creatures. If you want to do the firebending thing, attack with your creatures and then play this before blocks, because you want to give one of your creatures menace. So it's a weird thing where it's like a lot of the times you want to see what the blocks are going to be and then commit your card to it. But this card kind of tells you, hey, play this before blocks so that it makes blocks harder. Obviously, you have you could decide what's best in the moment. But it is kind of one of those funky things. It's like sorcery speed spells that give first strike are so weird, This one obviously isn't that, but feels like it has a little funkiness to it. So I'm going to give like a C- to this card. I think it'll be, the first one's a C and then they go down after that. Yes. C for How to Start a Riot. Next up, we have Fire Nation Raider, which is a 3 and a red for a 4/2 creature human soldier. It has raid. It says when this creature enters, if you attacked this turn, create a clue token. Cool. This is like another C-level card. Getting a card back after you attack is great. Just the body is, 4 power is nice. You're going to like this in Gruul because you want to have 4-powered stuff. And the clue tokens are great in every deck. Everybody wants to be able to draw cards, especially when you're doing it basically for free, I would think. Yeah, just to see. I don't really have very much else to say about this. We're happy with what you can do with it, but I don't know. I think it fits into 3 of the decks. I don't know if you're playing this in Is It necessarily. Next up, we have Boomy Bash, which is 3 and a red for a sorcery. Choose one. Boomy Bash deals damage equal to the number of lands you control to target creature, or destroy target land creature or non-basic land. It seems very specific. It does deal lots of damage, but it's also sorcery speed. But it does scale with the game, which is very nice, and it can kill land creatures just like that. Ultimately, I think it's perfectly fine. I think this is probably like a C plus. We do like removal spells that can kill giant things, and this does just, it kills big things in the late game. But there will be situations where this is really awkward and you can't really use it, or it doesn't kill the thing you really want. On turn 4, you're like, I wish this could deal a little bit more. So not like premium, but obviously still a card that we'll be playing. Next up, we have Rough Rhino Cavalry, which is 4 and a red for a 5/5 creature human mercenary. It has Firebending 2, and it has Exhaust, so you can pay this one time. Exhaust 8. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on this creature. It gains Trample until end of turn. So you turn it into a 7/7 Trample, and then it's just a 7/7 after that. And you can, it really costs 6, because when you attack with this, it firebends 2. You get to do this at instant speed. So, you could just turn 5, play this. It's a 5/5, turn 6, you attack. You make it attacks as a 7/7 trample. That part makes it really exciting. That makes it like a C+, where it's like, oh, this card's big. This is like Gruul. We'll be happy to play this card. And the turn sequence that I kind of like just established seems really annoying. I would be so frustrated if I'm like playing against something. I have a bunch of like chump blockers. I feel like I've stabilized, and then, oh my God, they played this stupid Rhino thing. That's a common. So yeah, I think this is like a C+. It will do the work. 5/5. Some of these creatures seem a little small, so seeing a big creature is really nice. Next up, we have Mongoose Lizard, which is 4 red for a 5/6 creature Mongoose Lizard. That is always fun when the name of the card is the same as the creature types of the card. Anyway, it has Menace, and it says when this creature enters, it deals 1 damage to any target, and it has Mountain Cycling 2. Sorry. So you can pay 2 mana, discard this card from your hand, go get a mountain utility, but like the actual card that we get is fine. I guess it's a Gruul card that could like kill some stupid like ally token or something. There's not a lot of like 2/1 flyers, I feel, which would be really nice to pick some stuff off. I think ultimately I'm not really that excited about this card. I think it's like a D. These cycling cards seem like you hope you don't have to play them because none of them feel that impactful. So yeah, D for the Mongoose Lizard, and almost all of the land cyclers have just been really unimpressive. So yeah, I hope I don't really have to play them. I'd much rather just be playing like 2 drops instead of like fixing my mana. Next up, we have the uncommons with, we're starting off with Jet's Brainwashing, which is a single red for a sorcery. It has Kicker 3. Target creature can't block this turn. If the spell was kicked, gain control of that creature until end of turn, untap it, and it gains haste, and it says create a clue token. So this is an interesting cantrip type of card, where it's like 1 mana, get a piece of cardboard, and you can crack it on a following turn, maybe even not the next turn, because you do need a target for this. As in, you're not going to play this on turn 1, is what I meant. I do like the fact that it can be. It's the same thing where it's like it's cheap, and then you can kick it to make it more expensive to actually do a bigger effect. The active treason part, we do have some sacrifice things, but primarily the sacrifice deck is white-black. So the active treason sacrifice a thing might not be exactly what Rakdos is trying to do. Also, when that tends to be a really good deck, they have an active treason at common. So the fact that this one is not common makes it a little bit harder to put together. But I love the clue token part of this card. The clue token part makes it really interesting. I think it's still probably like a C-, like we're not really excited with this card. But I could see us playing it just because it is a spell, and the spells deck might be interested in like getting flying or reach blockers out of the way, and then getting a card later and being able to do that. And then the upside of late in the game, you get to steal one of their things and attack for the win. So I really like the design of this a lot. Super interesting, super cool, but it's still a C minus. Next up, we have Fire Sages. Fire Sages is 1 and a red for a 2/2 creature human cleric. It has Firebending 1, and you can pay 1 red and put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Cool. This is a pretty nice 2-drop. I like the 2-mana 2/2 Firebending anything is nice. It is like, a little expensive to put the counter on. The red can be hard, but obviously, if you're firebending, it's not that big of a deal. This paired with something with Firebending 2 is really nice because then you get to put the counters on it each time. But ultimately, I think it's like a C level card. I think it's a C. We aren't super excited for it, but it is very nice. Whenever I talk about Firebending almost being like free, I think it's just on cards like this where you're just like, yeah, it's just like my cool 2-drop. It gets extra mana. It's really nice. There you go. Next up, we have May, Jaded Edge, which is 1 and a red for a 1/3 legendary creature, human noble. It has prowess and exhaust for 3. Put a double strike counter on May. I do like a double strike. I am a big fan of that keyword. And double strike on prowess, also very exciting because you get to do all the damage. Izzet loves this card. I think we're also pretty happy in like Rakdos. Maybe Boros and Gruul probably care a little bit less about this card, but still, if May has counters on her, which Boros could easily do, Gruul can also do that, plus like fight spells or removal spells in combination with this and the double strike and all that stuff. I think May's going to be pretty good. I'm going to give this like a B-. I like this a lot. Obviously best in Izzet, but I don't know. Seems like a pretty sick card. Does so many things. And the exhaust 3 seems fairly easy to get to, especially in combat, where you just like attack with this and a firebending creature, and your opponent's like, okay, do they have cards in their hand? Are they using this activated ability? Are they using a different activated ability? What else could they possibly do? What other mana do they have open? It's going to be a nightmare trying to deal with some of these like combat steps in red specifically because of all the mana that's just floating around. And this is one of the really cool ones where it's like, that's a scary card that we probably have to block. May's awesome. Oh man, what a cool chick. Next up, we have Tigerdillo, which is 1 and a red for a 4/3 creature cat armadillo. It says, this creature can't attack or block unless you control another creature with power 4 or greater. I love this card. This card reminds me so much of old Magic. We used to have cards like this when I first started playing back in like Onslaught block. There was a lot of stuff that reminded me of this kind of thing. They're like red creatures that couldn't attack alone or couldn't do all this stuff. So I'm really happy to see this. And a 2-mana 4/3, that's a freaking body. And they're amazing in multiples because if you play this on turn 2 and then another one on turn 3, obviously you're just cracking in. The Gruul deck loves this card. And I could see Rakdos also being happy with it. Spells, is it spells? Probably not so much. And then Boros might have a little bit of a hard time getting up to 4 power. But Gruul for sure. This turns on a lot of their cards, and it's the cheapest thing to do. So I'm going to also give this like a C+. It does go in a kind of specific deck, but if people don't care about this card because they're just like, oh, I'm not in that deck, you can just get a bunch of them. So I think that's great. Tigerdillo, C+. Next up, we have Combustion Technique, which is 1 in red for an instant lesson. Combustion Technique deals damage equal to 2+ the number of lesson cards in your graveyard to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. So this is, Sparky Boom Man. This is his special, like, mind laser ability thing, as you can see in the art. Anyway, 2-mana deal 2, plus it just scales with the amount of lessons that you have, which specifically we care about in Gruul and in Izzet, as well as Temur. Those are a lot of the lesson colors. So definitely Spells wants this card, for sure, because it can deal lots and lots of damage. Obviously, we can only deal damage to a creature, so that kind of makes it a little bit less exciting. But the fact that it scales with the game and cares about your graveyard, so if you're doing any milling or anything, that's nice. I think this card's pretty good. I'm going to give it like a B minus because I'm expecting to be able to deal more than 2 damage a good chunk of the time. You obviously prioritize lesson cards after this, but you know, there are some decks that might be a little bit less excited just because they're like, oh, well, you know, I don't have the lesson thing going on, so 2 for 2 is not that exciting. So then the Is It Spells deck will just get to scoop some of these up, possibly. But B minus for this card. The possibilities are very exciting. Next up, we have Iroh's Demonstration, another awesome lesson, which is 1 in red for a sorcery lesson. Choose 1. Iroh's Demonstration deals 1 damage to each creature your opponents control, or Iroh's Demonstration deals 4 damage to target creature. So this is only sorcery speed, which is probably good because instant speed wrath effects are really annoying. Just look at fire magic. That card's busted. So this card's obviously not nearly as good as that one. But the versatility of, you know, kill a bigger creature for 2 mana or kill a bunch of little ones for 2 mana, and it's a lesson. There's just a lot to like about this card. It works in a bunch of stuff, and I think spells obviously will also like this. Just be able to kill a bunch of the little things that will probably overrun you. But also you can play this in Boros because it kills bigger things for 2 mana. You can play it in just about everything. So this is another like B minus, I think. I'm happy with this. I originally had said that this was a little bit less good because of the whole sorcery speed part, because you can't firebend with it. But I still think 2 mana deal 4 is we're going to be happy with that. We're going to be happy with 2 mana deal 4. It's yeah, the versatility is wonderful. Next up, we have Price of Freedom, which is 1 in red for a sorcery lesson. Destroy target artifact or land an opponent controls. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle, and you draw a card. Okay. So this card usually looks pretty bad. We've seen a version of this before. It was like what was it? Something Brushfire. I can't remember, from Zendikar. Anyway, this specifically says it has to be land an opponent controls. So the fact that they get to go get a land means I really don't want to blow up an artifact with this, right? I'm uninterested in ramping my opponent. That sucks. It does kill earthbended creatures, right? So if your opponent earthbends something, one of their lands turns into a creature. This lets you kill that creature and then draw a card. But it's so narrow. Like, you have to, like, it only works in that situation. And in that case, it's like, well, you kill their land creature, but then the land comes back and then they also get another land. So you still ramp them. Like, yeah, I know we don't want to play this card. This card's bad. This is like a D minus to like an F. I was trying to find some use case for it, but I think ultimately we don't want to play this at all. It's sorcery speed. You do draw a card, but whatever. The fact that you can't kill your own lands to go fix your mana or anything like that is just, I don't know. Or, you know, randomly, in the past, we've had indestructible lands in Constructed, so you get to, you know, target your own land, go search up another one. It's like red ramp. This one is not that, so... Anyway, I think this is bad. B minus, or B minus. Get out of here. D minus to F for Price of Freedom. Yeah, maybe we just say F for freedom. Blech. Next up, we have Zhang the Deserter, which is 2 and a red for a 2/3 legendary creature, human rebel ally with firebending 1. He also has Exhaust. You can pay 3 mana, put a +1/+1 counter on Zhang. When you next cast a lesson spell this turn, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. It's pretty narrow, right? You have to be in lessons, so this is like a Gruul card or obviously Is It card. But doubling up on some of your lessons is pretty exciting. That's a cool ability. But it has to be a lesson which does pigeonhole you a little bit. So I think that it's perfectly fine. I'll probably just give it like a C. I think that the lesson copying part won't happen all that often because it's still 3 mana plus whatever the lesson costs. So you hope to do it in combat, so it has to be an instant speed lesson, which then means you want to make sure that you have... Because then you're obviously attacking, it costs 1 less because of this creature. So yeah, if you know, doubling up on a removal spell seems pretty nice, but it has to be the lesson ones, so... Which, to be fair, our best red common is a lesson, so there you go. That does seem kind of nice. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to give this like a C, just because it's kind of narrow. Next up, we have thte, Artful Acrobat, which is 2 and a red for a 3/2 legendary creature human performer with prowess. And says whenever thte attacks, you may pay 1. When you do, target creature can't block this turn. Cool. So if you attack with this, plus some firebenders, or even obviously just your mana, you can just make sure their biggest thing can't block you. And then maybe they try to block with the 2/2 and you blow them out with a spell or something like that. So that's pretty nice. I do like thte. But probably just like a C+. Like, it doesn't do a ton besides just be a nice little prowess creature. I think I like May a bit more just because the cheaper creature is nice, even though this has obviously more power. I think May is probably a little bit more exciting, but having both of those creatures in your like Is It Spells deck is pretty cool, and thematically like they're best friends, so that's awesome. I do like them, but C+ for thte. Next up, we have Solstice Revelations, which is 2 and a red for an instant lesson. It says exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost if the spell's mana value is less than the number of mountains you control. If you don't cast that card this way, put it into your hand, and it has flashback for 7. So this is part of a cycle of cards. There's one in every color that cares specifically about a basic land type. So this is the mountains one, the red one. This is like, it's fun. It's like a cool idea. Let's say that you're in mono red, right? So mono red probably has a lot of cheap creatures. The mono red wants to have cheap creatures and good removal, and this is neither of those things. It does cheat out stuff from your library, but the first part is kind of expecting like maybe you have 3, or even if you said you have 5, you get a card for always. You always get a non-land card. So it can go find you a creature or a removal spell in that situation. But I don't know. I'm not really excited by it. Also, like, the flashback part is pretty nice. Like, you do get that. But it's telling me it wants to be in a mono red deck, and it just doesn't feel like a card that I really love in mono red. Like, you can play one of these, maybe. Is this a reason I would play mono red? No. I feel like I'm losing too much value by going single color, and I don't know if this card is the one that's pushing me into it, as opposed to some of the other ones have much bigger, better effects, like making tons of tokens or like doming your opponent or drawing cards. This one obviously cheats something into play, but I think like it doesn't have that much repeatability. Obviously it has flashback, but I just don't like it that much. If we're milling this into our yard and then maybe we're playing like Is It, or something that cares about lessons in our yard, it could be kind of nice, but it is in red as opposed to like a green black or something like that. So I think ultimately this card's probably like a C-. Like it's a C- to maybe it's like a D. Maybe we're going to go intense. Maybe we're going to say this is a D level card. I don't really want to play this. It doesn't excite me to go into what it's kind of telling me what I'm supposed to do. I think you'd be better just kind of looking at this in a constructed deck and not in draft at all. Doesn't do what mono red wants to do, is what I'm going to say. So D for Solstice Revelations. Next up, we have War Balloon, which is 2 and a red for a 4/3 artifact vehicle. It has flying, and you can pay 1 to put a fire counter on this vehicle. As long as this vehicle has 3 or more fire counters on it, it's an artifact creature, and it has crew for 3. So a 3-mana 4/3 flying crew 3 is horrible. Like, it's so bad. Having a crew with a 3 power creature, or like enough that it becomes total power 3, is just, it's so bad. The fact that you can put the fire counters on it is the only reason you'd ever want to play this card, because you will. I do feel like we're going to have certain situations where you're like attacking with your firebending 1, but you just don't exactly have enough mana to pay for the 3 mana value, like exhaust ability or their activated ability. So this being a thing where it's like, yeah, I can just dump my extra red mana into this War Balloon that then turns into a creature, but you do need other things going on. So ultimately, this is like a 6 mana 4/3 flyer, but you can just pay it over multiple turns. Is that good? I don't know. I think my gut reaction is this is like a C minus, like it's playable, but you're not happy about it. I think I'm going to push up a little bit and just say it's a C, that you would play this card. And it does seem really annoying if your opponent like is attacking you with some creatures and then they slam this and then get like maybe a couple counters on it. And the following turn, they get another counter and they get to attack with it. Cause I know I'm going to give it a C. I'm going to give it a C. It's a weird card. They have a couple of these like artifacts that can turn into creatures in different situations. So yeah, but C. Next up, we have Twin Blades, which is 2 and a red for an artifact equipment. It has flash. It says when this equipment enters, attach it to a creature you control. Nice. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn. Nice. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Sweet. And then it has equip for 2. So it's an instant speed combat trick that gives a creature +1/+1 and double strike, and then it leaves the +1/+1 on forever after that. And then you can move it around for 2, which is kind of expensive. But I do like double strike every once in a while. In Gruul, you'll just kill somebody. So that's always fun. It also is strangely fun in like Izzet spells because it's a non-creature spell, so it will trigger some of your prowess. And if you have any like the cards that are really big or like get counters, this just makes it huge. Like if your opponent's like, I guess I won't block, I'll take 4. You're like, actually, you're going to take 10. That's awesome. Like I love those situations so much. Like that's one of the reasons why I love Magic is just like giving a creature double strike that wasn't blocked and then they just lose. Like that's always fun. But ultimately, I think this is probably like a C minus. It's kind of expensive to hold up. 3 mana is a lot, though. It does have flash, so that means we do get to use our firebending stuff for it. So this could be a card that people are really scared of. You know what? I'm going to give it a C just because of that. C because I love double strike, and C because of firebending. But I don't think we have to actively look for this card. Next up, we have Zuko, Exiled Prince, which is 3 and a red for a 4/3 legendary creature, human noble, with firebending 3. Heck yeah, that's good. Firebending 3, that's nice. That's like the top echelon, basically. And he has an activated ability. You can pay 3, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So it basically says this is a 4 mana 4/3. When you attack, you get to draw a card for the turn. Which is nice. It is, I mean, like, I guess it's a free card that you get to draw. So you have 4 mana. Maybe you're looking for a land. Maybe you're looking for some gas. Who knows? I really like how Zuko has an attack draw card ability that's different than Azula's attack draw card ability, which is a very similar card. It's a 4 mana 4/3 in black. Firebending 2, make a clue. So they're both really cool. Obviously, Zuko Exiled is perfect because he was exiled. He plays stuff from exile. I like that a lot. But this is a good card. Attacking and drawing a card every turn is awesome because it gives you the mana for it, so you don't have to worry about that. And if you don't need the card, you can just pump that 3 mana into something else. Maybe giving a double strike with the blades, because obviously he also, he's the one with the twin blades, so it works out perfectly. I'm going to give Zuko like a B. I think this is awesome. I think it's a lot of what you're going to want to do. It has 4 power for Gruul, which is really great. It's nice in Rakdos. Maybe Izzet's the place you probably like it the least. But yeah, B for Zuko. Awesome card. Next up, we have Crescent Island Temple, which is 3 and a red for a legendary enchantment shrine. It says whenever Crescent Island Temple enters, for each shrine you control, create a 1/1 red monk creature token with prowess. And whenever another shrine you control enters, create a 1/1 red monk creature token with prowess. So really, this is a 4 mana 1/1 prowess. If you have more shrines, cool. If you don't have shrines, it's not going to do anything. In the shrine deck, it's going to be closer to 5 colors, and it's primarily like, usually when you're doing 5 colors, you try to be like green and blue, and then you kind of splash the rest of them. This one is going to be very important because if you're spending a lot of your card slots on non-creature spells, shrines, you're going to need something that makes creatures, and this one does that. Plus, all of your creatures get pumped up when you play more shrines. The funny thing about the shrine deck is that obviously they're all legendary and they only trigger when they enter. We've had shrines in the past that triggered on your upkeep, and so they kept getting you value every single turn. These ones do not. So they strangely want to be paired, I think, with airbending, so you can airbend them away and then replay them, which is kind of strange. So So maybe it's like you get spread so thin between all the different colors that it's like I don't think the deck is actually going to work, right? I don't think that shrine thing is going to happen. I think that this one is good because you need the tokens. You really need them, but 4 mana can be a lot. How many tokens do you need before you're happy? Like 2 tokens is like not very happy. 3 tokens, I think you're happy. 4 mana for 3 1/1s that have prowess, I think we're okay with. So you have to have 3 other shrines, which means you probably have the green one and the blue one, and then you play this one and get 3 1/1s. Are you winning the game now? Is that like, did you do the thing? That seems like a lot of hoops to jump through. I just don't know if the shrine deck's really going to be worth it. So I'm not that stoked. So this is like a D. I think most of the shrines aren't awesome if you can't really play them outside of the shrine deck. And this one you definitely don't want to play outside of the shrine deck. It's just way too weak. Way too weak. Sorry, shrines and shrine lovers out there. Next up, we have the Cave of Two Lovers, 3 and a red for a Saga enchantment. It has 3 chapters. The first one is create 2 1/1 white ally creature tokens. The second one is search your library for a mountain or cave card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And the third one is Earthbend 3. So, this is kind of what we were talking about before, right? 4 mana, make 2 1/1s. Not really enough, but you do then get a land, and then you make a 3/3. So it's 4 mana for 5 power and toughness over 3 bodies. I think that's pretty good. It does take 3 turns, but you do get your value out of this thing, and I think we're pretty happy with that. I don't think there's any caves in the actual set. So the cave part is kind of just like a fun thing. There might be one rare, but besides that, it basically just draws you a mountain. But all in all, I think this is pretty good. I think this is probably like a B-. Like, this does stuff. It is above rate, and I think that you'd probably if you're playing this card in, let's say, Boros, because you're like, let's just get tokens, more creatures, I want lots of creatures. I think we're totally fine with that. Maybe it's a little bit too expensive for that deck. I don't know. But I do like it. It doesn't do the Gruul thing where none of your creatures are 4 power, so that's a little awkward. But you do get to Earthbend for a 3/3, and then if that creature dies, it just comes back as a land, so that's really nice. Sweet card, B-. I have high hopes for the Cave of Two Lovers. Next up, we have the Fire Nation Attacks, which is 4 and a red for an instant. It says create 2 2/2 red soldier creature tokens with Firebending 1. And it also has flashback for 9, 8 and a red. Yes, please. Yes. 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 Instant speed, 2 2/2s that have Firebending. So they help you cast the flashback version and you keep going. 5 mana is a lot, but it's an instant. We can play this in combat with our Firebending. This is, I think this is a B. I think this card's actually really good. I am going to value these 2/2 tokens kind of highly. We've just been talking about tokens for the last couple cards, and this is my favorite one. Like, this is awesome. Cards that make tokens, and lots of them with flashback, have been good in limited sets prior, so I think there's no reason we shouldn't expect this card to be great. So B for Fire Nation Attacks, awesome card. So awesome. Next up, we have Combustion Man, which is 3 red for a 4/6 legendary creature human assassin. Whenever Combustion Man attacks, destroy target permanent unless its controller has Combustion Man deal damage to them equal to his power. So you attack for 5 and you say, I'm going to kill your biggest creature. And then they say, I don't want you to do that. And then they take 4 to the face. Giving them a choice is never good. You don't really want to give your opponent choices in the game of Magic. Especially when, like, the thing that you want is not always, like, there's just the thing that your opponent's never going to do. But it does destroy permanents. It just kills lands. Destroy target permanent. That's awesome. So it kills lands, even ones that aren't creatures. Ideally, you're probably attacking and killing creatures, but attacking them and destroying their, like, stone raining them, and them being like, okay, do I lose a land or I take 4 plus maybe 4 more if I can't do more stuff. Obviously, the use case is like you attack and you make sure that they can't double block and kill this thing, and then they'll probably just take 4 in the face. So at least you dealt them some damage, and maybe you have a combat trick with some other stuff that's going on. This card seems like a B+. It seems awesome. I think it's so cool. The art's awesome. This dude's sweet. And I know I just said that I don't like you shouldn't be playing effects that give your opponent choices. But I feel like both of these choices are pretty bad, and there's a lot of brutal, mean things you can do with this card. So if you can keep it on the battlefield and attacks for a couple turns, it's going to be brutal. Next up, we have the rares. The first one is Redirect Lightning. Very important moment in the series. It is a single red for an instant lesson. It says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, you can pay 5 life or pay 2 mana. And it says, change the target of target spell or ability with a single target. So obviously, this is what you want to do when your opponent's trying to, destroy one of your creatures. You pay 3 mana and you put it back on one of their creatures. Or if you're in a pinch and you have life, you pay the 5 life. 5 is a lot. That's a quarter of your whole life total. So that's a bit scary, especially because this kind of looks like a card that you want in Is It Spells, right? Where you're like, oh, we're going to change the targets of things and be sneaky and move things around. But I also wonder how much of this is just like, you'd be fine in an aggressive Boros or Rakdos deck where you just want to attack all the time. And then they try to do a combat trick or they try to kill one of your creatures or do a blowout. And you're like, no, actually, I'm going to kill yours instead. And I don't care about my life total because I'm the one that's attacking. That could be a situation. Plus, once again, it's an instant during combat. This is probably going to be a thing that you want to cast during combat, so you get mana for free. So maybe it really still does just cost 1 red because you had Firebending 2. So there is also that. I'm going to give it like a C- because it is very situational. And you often just hold this card in your hand forever, and then it kind of makes it weird where you're like, you have to keep the mana open at all times because you don't want to miss your opportunity, but then maybe you just lose because you're playing off curve just so you can try to get this thing to happen. So let's give it a C-. I think it does have use cases, but you shouldn't take this card very early. Next up, we have Firebending Student, which is 1 in a red for a 1/2 creature human monk with prowess. And it says Firebend. It has Firebending X, where X is this creature's power. Sweet. This card looks like it's constructed playable. Like, it looks awesome. It's just, a Monastery Swift Spear without haste, but it does have Firebending for a lot. You're just going to be... It feels like you're going to smoke people with this card. I like it a ton. Do I want this card more than May? May's the 2 mana 1/3 that could get double strike and has prowess. I think that in Constructed, it's probably better, but in Limited, I might be happier with like the 1/3 body that can have double strike, and the Firebending might not be good enough because it's weird, right? The Firebending triggers on your attack, so you have to play spells pre-combat and then attack, and then you get more spells to play. So I don't know if you're playing spells that then draw you cards. You have to have a lot of cards in your hand because I just feel like you might run into a situation where it's like, I don't want to play this right now. I want to play it in combat. I want to like do some, combat tricks or like removal spells from double blocks and things like that. I want them to block and then I pump it up. But like this is incentivizing you to pump it up beforehand, which would be better in like a Constructed burn deck where you're like burn, 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 attack, burn, burn, burn. It seems a little bit better there. I'm going to give it a C+. I think it's a good card. I think you should still play it. But I think it's going to be significantly better in Constructed than it is in Limited. Next up, we have Zhao, the Moonslayer, which is 1 in a red for a 2/2 legendary creature human soldier. It has Menace. So 2 mana 2/2 Menace. It says non-basic lands enter tapped, and you can pay 7 mana to put a Conquer counter on Zhao. And as long as Zhao has a Conquer counter on him, non-basic lands are mountains. So this is a 9 mana Magus of the Moon, or Blood Moon effect. I don't think we care about any of that stuff. This is a 2 mana 2/2 Menace, and that's all that matters. If it randomly makes one of your opponent's lands like come into play tapped, there's a whole cycle of tapped lands anyways, so that won't change anything. You're probably not doing the Conquer counter thing because it doesn't matter that much since everyone's playing basic lands. So this is a 2 mana 2/2 Menace, and so that's like a C. It's 2-drop you'd be happy to play, and maybe someone will kill it when they shouldn't. I think this card's super cool, though. It's like an awesome moment from the show. Everything turns red. It's like, it's so sick. He's holding the fish in the bag. It's great. But I do think that it's not very good in limited. It's one of the ones, but it's like primed to be the card I'm going to open the most in sealed, where I'm like, oh man, this is just not going to do what I need. Every once in a while, you might be able to do the Conquer thing and really screw over the 5-color deck. But in general, it's just a creature that attacks. So C for Zhao. Next up, we have Firebender Ascension, which is 1 in red for an enchantment. When this enchantment enters, create a 2/2 red soldier creature token with Firebending 1. Okay, 2 mana 2/2. And whenever a creature you control attacking causes a triggered ability of that creature to trigger. Ugh, that's really hard to say. Put a quest counter on this enchantment. When this enchantment has 4 or more quest counters on it, you may copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. So it's like you play this and then you attack with it, and then you eventually attack with it and more firebending things, and then it just doubles up your firebending. Also cool. If you have other attack triggers, if you have some of the ones where it's like attack, sacrifice something, draw a card, you get to do that twice. The Zuko has, like, you can draw more cards with Zuko. You get to get more clues with what's her face, Azula. So there's some cool stuff. I think Rakdos is pretty happy with this card. And at the base, it is a 2 mana 2/2 firebending, which is nice. You will be happy to play that, but it's in the C range, right? Like, the quest counters take a while to do, and then, you're not really paid off because I don't know how many attack triggers are, like, Combustion Man attack trigger would be awesome, right? You get to choose 2 permanents and they take 8 if they don't want them to die. So this would go really well with that card. That'd be pretty sweet. But ultimately, I think this is probably like a C to like a C plus if it's built around. I don't think it's much better than that. Next up, we have the Last Agni Kai, which is 1 in red for an instant. Target creature you control fights target creature an opponent controls. If the creature the opponent controls is dealt excess damage this way, add that much red mana. Until end of turn, you don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. This is an instant speed fight spell at its base, and I think that it's going to be... That's basically what it's going to do. You do get to play this, like, you could play it... obviously in combat or before combat to fight something, and then you get a bunch of like firebending triggers that stay for the whole turn, so you can play creatures afterwards. But I think ultimately it's probably just like a C+. Like, fighting is obviously much worse than biting, where you just deal damage. So there's situations where you're just like kind of trading your creature, which sucks. And do you want your rare to just be a card that's like 2-for-1ing yourself? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. I know that you don't want your rare to be doing that. So this is like a C+. It's a perfectly fine instant speed fight spell that has a little bit of upside, and that's about it. Next up, we have Wartime Protesters, which is 3 in a red for a 4/4 creature human rebel ally with haste. It says whenever another ally you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature and it gains haste. Okay. There are a ton of tokens that come into play in our allies. Like, they're all over the place. Boros loves this card. At the top end, you're like, here we go. Boom. Play this. Every time I make a token, it gets +1/+1 and it has haste. It's just like you're making all your 1/1s into 2/2s. I think this is like a B, and if it's built around really well, it could be one of the best cards in your deck. But on its own, a B. Absolutely. There's a lot of random allies also. You'll just like kind of find them, especially if you're playing arena. You'll just play the other allies and be like, oh, okay, this one gets a counter too. So that's pretty nice. Sweet card. A lot of the ally deck wants to be 5 colors as well, but this is a payoff that isn't 5 colors, which is awesome. So you could really easily just play this in Boros or in any other deck that has a lot of allies. But I think that's the number 1 deck that does. So you'll be pretty happy with that. You don't want to play this in Izzet, and like Gruul is like, I don't think so. Maybe it's secretly a Boros card, but I think it's a B for Boros. Next up, we have Ran and Shaw, which is 3 red red for a 4/4 legendary creature dragon. It has flying and firebending 2. And says when Ran and Shaw enter, if you cast them, and if there are 3 or more dragon and or lesson cards in your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of Ran and Shaw, except it's not legendary. And you can pay 4 mana, 3 in a red. Dragons you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. So the fun thing with this card is that, you know, hopefully you have 3 lessons. That's not an easy thing to do, but like especially on curve. But if you're later in the game, you play this for 5 mana, you make a 4/4, then you make another 4/4. They both have firebending 2. You attack with both of them in the air. You get 4 mana, you pump up your dragons. Instead of dealing 8 damage, you deal 12 damage. I don't know. That seems pretty great, right? I think that seems pretty great. And if it's just a 5 mana 4/4 firebending 2 and you can pump itself up, I mean, that's still pretty great. So I'm going to give this an A. I don't think you need the other dragon for it to be an A, but if you do get the other dragon, it's like an A+, like you're just like wrecking them. And obviously you'll be prioritizing lessons a lot more if you have this card, but some of the best ones are in red anyway, so it won't be that hard. This card's sick. I really hope I get to play a lot of this card and get a lot of double dragons. Next up, we have the Mythics. We have Faded Firepower, which is X red, red, red for an enchantment. It has flash. And says this enchantment enters with X fire counters on it. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus an amount of damage equal to the number of fire counters on this enchantment. So it does literally nothing without X. So you have to spend at least 4 mana for this card to work. Now, let's see. 4 mana, all of your things that deal damage do an extra damage. Not that exciting. 5 mana, everything deals 2 extra damage. Okay, we're getting there. And then at 6 mana, you're like, okay, this is getting a little bit ridiculous. So I do think there are some use cases for it, but red, red, red is pretty expensive. And obviously the flash part is like nice when you're like firebending and things. So I do think this could come in handy, but I don't think we should, like, it doesn't really do anything on its own, right? It's just a card that makes your other cards stronger, which means it's really good if you're at parity or winning. But if you're in your development stage or you are behind, this card is absolute garbage. So with that, I'm going to give this like a C. It could be played. I don't think I'm going to like look at your deck list and be like, oh, you're playing Faded Firepower. Why are you doing that? But, you know, it's just not going to be, it's not going to be the game changer that you hope it is in like half of the time, right? So that's why it's kind of like a C. You shouldn't take this very highly. I wouldn't want to start a draft with this card at all. If this comes to me and I'm already deep into red, awesome. But I'm not going to go into red because of this card, which makes it a C, right? That's just kind of, those are the rules. Them's the rules, you know, them's the rules. Next up, we have the Legend of Roku, which is 2 red, red for an enchantment saga with 3 chapters. The first one is exile the top 3 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. Cool. And then the next turn, you get an extra mana of any color, which helps you cast the cards that you just drew. Awesome. And then the third chapter, you get to exile this saga, return to the battlefield, transformed as Avatar Roku, which is a 4/4 legendary creature avatar with firebending 4. And you can spend 8 mana to create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying and firebending 4. This is awesome. 4 mana, kind of draw 3 cards. You know, you might get a land out of there. You know, so you might not be able to play all of them, but you do get to look at a bunch of stuff. It gives you mana to play some of those cards that you can survive, so that you play this dude. When this dude flips, obviously you can't attack that turn, but if you have more mana and more things going on, I would be surprised if you could make a dragon on the turn this flips if you played it on 4. That would be pretty impressive. You'd have a lot of firebending stuff going on and hit all your land drops. But the crazy thing about this card is that you attack for 4, you get firebending 4, so then you just get to pump it right into this and make a dragon for sure. Boom. If Roku doesn't die on that attack, which you really hope he doesn't, your dragon has firebending 4. So now your dragon can attack. You don't have to attack with Roku, and you make another dragon. Then once you have 2 dragons, you just start attacking, and you get to make dragons for free. Every single turn you're making more dragons, your opponent's probably dead very, very quickly. But that seems like so sweet. I know it's a little bit of a magical Christmas land because you do have to do a lot of hoops to jump through things. And 8 mana is a lot to make a dragon. But if you have a bunch of firebending and this guy can attack and survive, then you're going to make a ton of dragons and super win the game. Even if your opponent's trading with Roku and you made 1 dragon, I think you're still pretty happy. You're like, yeah, this card drew me 3 cards, made me some mana, and made me this dude that then made another dragon with the potential to make even more dragons if it's gone unchecked. This is an A for sure. We definitely want to be playing the Legend of Roku. A lot of these legends are super, super strong, and we want to be playing them. So this is no different. Roku is freaking sweet. This is our last card. This is our last mythic, the last red card of the entire review. It is Sozin's Comet, a really, really big, important card, or a big, important story piece of the entire series. Let's see if it lives up. So it is 3 red for a sorcery. It says each creature you control gains firebending 5 until end of turn. So they all attack and they get 5. And this is the most firebending you could possibly get in the entire set. Sozin's Comet, that all works perfectly. It's fantastic. Even Ozai doesn't make more than this, so that's sweet. It also has Foretell for 2 and a red. So Foretell is an old mechanic that we had in Kaldheim. So during your turn, you can, at any point during your turn, you can pay 2 mana, so you could firebend do this, and then you get to put this card into exile face down, and you can cast it on a later turn for its Foretell cost. All right. 5 mana, give all your creatures firebending 5. Cool. So you're spending 5 mana, and then as long as you have 1 creature, you get that mana back. So that means you definitely need to have 2 creatures for this to actually do anything. And you can foretell it and stuff. You know, it's very flavorful because we know the comment's coming and when it's coming and all that. But we don't have any like blaze effects or fireball effects, I mean, in the set where you're like, yeah, I just look at all the mana I made. I get to kill you with it. There is like 1 common that when you spend 3 mana, you deal 1 damage to your opponent. So maybe this goes with that card, but that card kind of sucks. So like, do you really want to do that? This is just like a mythic that has such a huge presence and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. Like you just get a ton of mana and then hopefully you have other ways to use it. But in draft, this is bad, right? I don't think you want to play this card at all. I would be wheeling. I mean, I wouldn't even pick this card. Like, this is an F to me. Like, I don't think you should play this card. I think that it looks really cool, and there's so many magical Christmas lands of all the different things you could possibly do with this card, but it just doesn't do it for me. It doesn't kill your opponent. It doesn't make creatures. It doesn't draw cards. It doesn't deal damage. It doesn't have board presence. You have to have a lot of creatures that can attack, and then also have activated abilities or other cards that you could play during combat for that. You can't even play like a big dragon or anything afterwards. So I think this card is an F. I think it's really bad for draft. Cool if you in constructed. There's a bunch of cool things you can do at that. It's cool in Commander, but in draft, this is awful. Only take this card if you want to play this in constructed formats and you want it in your arena collection or in your personal collection. But besides that, this is a horrible card. And I'm routinely going to open this in my sealed pools. I know it for sure. But anyway, folks, this has been my thoughts on every single red card in the set. Tell me what you think. Is Sozin's Comet actually as bad as I think it is? It is. But let me know in the comments below and check out all my other videos. I have ones for every single different color, so check those out. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.